Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Stott, I'm the Emperor of Stomaria, and today I want to go over what the best government structure is for a micronation. Now, before I start, there are a couple of caveats. They may be more later on, but the two caveats I can think off the top of my head are, first of all, the best micronational government structure that I'm about to go through is based purely on my opinion. Now, this opinion is, as far as I'm concerned, rooted in hard facts and just the reality of what a micronation is, but it is still just my opinion. So don't get cross and angry and start hating on the video or me just because you don't have the same government structure that I'm about to talk about. But, as I say, this is, as far as I'm concerned, the best government structure for a micronation to have, in my opinion. Now, the second caveat to this is that when I talk about government structures for a micronation, I am specifically talking about micronations like Stomaria, as in micronations that are looking to acquire private freehold land and assets, and merchandise, and things of tangible worth, and build a real-world community around that. So I think that's the two caveats that I can think of at the moment. So when like I said, me micronations, single-issue micronations that exist purely online, this isn't especially relevant to them because it doesn't really matter what kind of government structure they have. Because there's nothing really to gain or to lose, and that's going to be a big premise of the reason and the rationale as to why the government structure that we advocate and the one that I'm about to go through, I think is the best one. So, long story short, the best government structure that there is for a micronation like the Empire of Stomaria is a federal, absolute hereditary monarchy. Now, that's a bit of a long-winded sort of government structure, if you like, so I'm going to break this down a little bit. So we'll start with the absolute monarchy part, or the absolute hereditary monarchy part. So the reason for this is pretty straightforward. If you are a republic or a democracy or adopt some form of government structure that revolves around involving other people, either people you know or people you met online or people who have had no affiliation with you whatsoever, but you've come across and they've gotten involved. There are some obvious issues to be had with that. Because as I say, this is about micronations like Stomaria. So when it comes to private freehold land, for instance, this is something that we believe is necessary in order to promote our values and achieve our objectives. If you're going down the route of democracy or republicanism, there are two ways you can really go about it. You can either be the sole member of that community, work tirelessly to raise enough funds to purchase the land, and go ahead and purchase it. And then as you grow and expand, more people get involved in your micronation because they like what you're doing, they like what they see, and your fledgling republic or democracy gets an influx of people. And they become citizens, and all of a sudden there's elections to be had, because if you're a republic or democracy, that's presumably what you do. And let's say in a very realistic hypothetical situation that you're voted out of office. What happens? Do you lose control of the land? Do you lose ownership of the land? Because if either of those things aren't the case, then is the land not anything to do with the micronation? Is it just your land? Is it nothing to do with the republic or the democracy that you've established? Because if that's not clear from the get-go, then that might cause some problems. Because if you're not willing to lose what you have built, then being a democracy or a republic really isn't for you. I mean, it really is as simple as that. If you don't want to risk losing everything, the land, the merchandise, the assets that you've acquired, if you don't want to risk handing that over to someone else, someone you might not even like, someone that you might not know, simply because they got more votes than you, from people that you also do not know. Is that really a system that you think that you want to have? I mean, to me, that's quite a dysfunctional and terrifying prospect, to think that everything that you're building up, everything that you're striving for, could just be taken away from you. They can have the rug pulled from underneath you, and all of a sudden you're left with nothing. And if you're not, I mean, what's the point? Are you really a democracy? Are you really a republic? So that's something that you've got to think about. Now, there are people who would get around that and say, well, what we'll do is we won't buy land or anything like that right away. What we'll do is we'll build up the citizenry and then we'll all go in it together. So you get 10 people involved, they each contribute £1,000 to the pot, you buy a 10,000 plot of land, happy days, everyone's a winner. Now, the problem becomes pretty obvious when you realise that 5 people want to go one direction, 4 people want to go another direction, and one other person has decided after 2 weeks that it's not for them and they want out. What happens? It pulls itself apart. Except when it comes to this sort of situation, it's a lot more real and a lot more meaningful and a lot more devastating, I suspect, because there are legal ramifications for that. If you're all on the deeds of that plot of land, then legal action will have to get taken in order to carve up the land further, or to buy someone out, or to force someone to, give up a portion of their ownership of the land, or something to that effect. I mean, that becomes a very real issue. So again, republicanism and democracy, when it comes to trying to establish something real and something genuine and something meaningful, becomes a lot more difficult. Because as I said, if you're just managing a Discord server, or you exist solely on Reddit, or you're campaigning about the environment, or you're, campaigning to save the penguins or something, I mean, that's all fine, but it doesn't really matter what government structure you have for that. You could be a democracy, you could be a republic, you could be a dictatorship, a monarchy, or whatever you like, because there's nothing really tangible to be lost or gained. And if you go down the routes that some micronations do, which is to register as a charity or a business or a non-profit organization or something like that, then you have legal protections in place. But you probably wouldn't define yourself as a republic if you're going to go down that route. If you were going to assure yourself legal ownership and legal control without anyone being able to challenge you from a legal macronational perspective, then it's just not the democratic or republican route that you would take. You would just naturally go down the route of a dictatorship or a monarchy of some sort. So that's the first point to get across. And the other point I want to get across, just while we're on this topic, is that when you retire, or you die, or you abdicate, or whatever else from your position, whichever it may be, you want to decide where the assets that you've built up will go to, I would imagine. So if you spent your entire life working to purchase land and get the gold and the silver and the merchandise and the assets, the sabres, the uniforms, whatever else, much like Stomaria has, what's going to happen with that when your time comes? I mean, assuming you are, for instance, not a hereditary monarchy, let's say you're an absolute monarchy, but it's not hereditary, let's say it's elective, would you really risk giving all that away to someone else, someone that, again, you might not like, someone you might not know? Or would you rather those assets that you've worked your entire life to build up go to someone of your choosing, not necessarily a son or daughter or spouse, but maybe someone you trust or someone you have worked with for many years? Wouldn't you want that assurance? Wouldn't you want that control? Wouldn't you want that decision to be made by you? And again, this is why absolute hereditary monarchies are the best, because for establishing real world communities on a micronational level, you need total control. I mean, I can't think of a better way to describe it. You need control over your own affairs. You need control over your own life. You can't be worrying constantly about losing everything you've built to some random guy or some random people. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to the federal aspect, I suppose this is probably more applicable to the empires of the micronational community, because there are really two ways you can go about building an empire. You can either go down the route of building a unitary state, a homogeneous empire, where people are forbidden to become a part of any other micronation, or forbidden to remain in any other micronation, and they must only form a part of that micronation. Or they can go down the federal route, in which, if not actively encouraged, then certainly allowed, micronations and micronationalists can be a part of another micronation, or indeed lead another micronation, but still form a part of your empire, your micronational empire. And this is the route that we go down. We are a federal empire, so other micronations and micronationalists, the leaders of those micronations, they can form a part of Stomaria's empire. They can join either as private citizens, or they can actually incorporate their own micronation into the Empire of Stomaria itself, which is what's happened with the Kingdom of Wayward as an associated state, or Moreland, or Molossia, or Norwick as observer states, and to great effect. I mean, Stomaria wouldn't be half the micronation it is if it isolated these people from Stomaria, because why would they turn around and say, "Oh, I'm willing to give up everything I've built. I'm ready to give up my identity, my customs, my traditions, my flag, my system of government, or this thing that I've been working for years on." Why would they give all that up just to become a citizen of Stomaria, just to become a part of a homogenous cultural identity? Now, we even made a video about this, a micronation of micronations, and you can see just beautifully the different attire, the different presentation, the different sorts of styles and environments that those micronationalists were in. They're all Stomarian citizens. They're all forming a part of the Empire of Stomaria, but they're all individual micronations as well. And that's the beautiful thing about having a federal system, is that you just get this wonderful array of people with these, varying degrees of, opinions when it comes to religion, or practices, or traditions, or cultures, or languages, or whatever else. But we're all still unified by various commonalities, which is sort of promoted through Stomaria. So, sustainability, natural rights, social responsibility, these are sort of core themes within Stomaria, and reducing reliance on the macronations that we're a part of, and reducing contributions to the macronations that we're a part of. This trying to build this empire of trade, of commerce, of enterprise. This is the sort of empire that we are building. We're not looking to build a homogenous cultural identity. And people can see that. People can look at any number of the micronations that are involved in Stomaria, and they can see they're all doing their own thing. They're all, they're all promoting Stomaria to some form, or in some way or another, because when they succeed, we succeed. They're all, they're all adding value to Stomaria, and I like to think that we're adding value to them, because there's no specific formal arrangements as such, in the sense that no one's legally obligated to do anything for the Empire of Stomaria any more than we are legally obligated to do something for them. But we constantly promote these micronations, and we have quite a sizable following on social media. So I don't take full credit, of course, for their whatever success they might have on social media, but I like to think that when we promote them, we are helping them. We're helping to advertise them, and we've obviously commissioned various bits of artwork for them, and are helping to build those ties with other micronations within the Empire of Stomaria, because they're like-minded. And in return, like I said, they're all Stomarian citizens, and the only way to become a Stomarian citizen is to join through our Patreon campaign. They are each contributing financially to the project, which is fantastic. It's next level stuff. It's not just some mutual recognition treaty that's posted online. This is genuine value and genuine promotion, and genuine mutual benefit. And, as an aside, it's also fantastic for us in terms of a promotional or advertisement sort of sense, that we can say, this micronation has joined us, they must think we're doing something right. This micronation has joined us, they must think we're doing something right. This micronation has joined us, they must think we're doing something right, and so on and so forth. And it's almost snowballed to some degree or another, because we had the associated state of the Kingdom of Wayward, but then we were quickly joined by Norwich, and then we had Sealand, and then we had Moreland, and now we have Lithua as an ally. It's all very exciting, and these micronations, they're real, they're genuine, they're involved for a particular purpose. They're looking to build that community, that real world community, and these are the sorts of micronationalists that I have time for. I mean, I want us to rise above the cesspit that a large part of the micronational community has become. It is just whiny teenagers launching investigations and declaring war and sanctions and condemnations for pointless and tedious reasons. I mean, it is just not a pleasant place to be in for large swathes of people, I imagine. But I like to think of us as a beacon to say, look, we're over here. Come look at what we're doing. And that's, done quite well for us so far. We have, like I said, one of the largest presence in micronational terms on Facebook. We have one of the largest YouTube channels of any micronation, and certainly one of the largest active ones. Yeah, I mean, as I say, we are making strides in that way, and we wouldn't be able to do that if we weren't a federal empire, if we weren't looking to incorporate other micronations into the Empire of Stomaria, not an attempt to assimilate them into Stomarian fashion, but in order to incorporate them into the trade network that we're looking to build, in order to support them where we can, and for them to support us where they can. And that sort of mutual benefit, that's what matters. Now, if you're a unitary state, as I say, and you say you can't have your own flag, you can't have your own government, you can't have your own culture or identity or language or customs or traditions or whatever else, forget all that. You're now in my micronation, and you will do what I say, you will dress how I say, you will behave how I say, you obey the laws that I've laid out for you, and all the rest of it. I mean, how many micronations out there are looking to jump at that opportunity, to give up everything that they've worked to build in order to join another micronation in that way? I mean, what's the point? I mean, I honestly can't think as to what mindset someone has to go through to think that's a good idea. So, as I say, federal is the best way forward. Unitary, a unitary homogenous empire, it's just not worth exploring, because it'll get you nowhere, because no one will be interested in it. Certainly if they're already a part of the micronational community. And I think people will be quite resentful at the idea that they would have to surrender their identities and cultures and traditions and everything that they've built. And they just wouldn't entertain the idea. And I suppose, just to touch on this a little bit further, trying to attract a larger following, certainly going down the federal route, is a lot more appealing if your citizenry is adding genuine value to your project, because it's not something I was specifically going to cover in this particular video. But when you have citizens that add value to your project, i.e. they join through Patreon, like us, they pay a monthly fee, why would you risk citizens that are adding value to your project leaving your micronation because you won't allow them to become a part of another micronation? There's no value in that. There's no rational reason for that to happen, other than, I don't know, pride. Is that you have to be in my club, which means you can't be in anyone else's club. If you want to be my friend, you can't have other friends. It's that sort of vibe. That sort of reasoning that I just can't quite fathom. So, as I say, federal, absolute hereditary monarchy is, in my opinion, the best way for a micronation like Stomaria to have. And there are micronations that, more often than not pay lip service to the idea, but are striving to be more like Stomaria, in the sense that they are looking to build a real-world community, they are looking to acquire private freehold land, they are looking to actually do something meaningful and lasting. Most, again, they just pay lip service to the idea and don't last more than a few weeks or months, occasionally years. There are a genuine few micronations that I do think are going to stand the test of time, and many of those are within the Empire of Stomaria as observer and associated states, which I suppose is quite telling. Yeah, I think that is about all I wanted to cover for this particular video. Again, it's just one of my usual rambling sort of videos where I sort of try to sort of discuss things without any sort of script. Because I don't know, I feel like having a script or having like these bullet points that I want to cover, I think it just sort of takes away the honesty out of it, if you like. It takes away the pure thought process that culminates in these videos. But if you did enjoy the video and you wanted to become a part of the Stomarian community, then please feel free to do so through our Patreon campaign, the link of which I shall leave in the description below as always. And you can find the description of the other Micronations that make up Stomaria's empire in the description below as well. But if you did enjoy this video, then please feel free to give it a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.